Hello and welcome to another episode of Toxic Love Transformation. I am your host, Stephanie McPhail. And tonight I am coming on to be completely of service. So whatever questions that you have, feel free to write your questions in the comments and I am here to answer whatever questions you have. So take advantage, pick my brain, and get the information that you need so that you can really truly heal. So what are some of the topics that you might be interested in asking me questions about? Could be anything related to toxic relationships, could be related to divorce, could be related to breakup, anything related to, or maybe you're still in the relationship and you're wondering what's healthy or not. Any of the questions that you can think of, write your questions in the comments. I am here to serve you and answer anything that comes to mind. So as we start and the questions start getting written down, I'm going to ask you to write down, where are you tuning in from? Write in the comments, where are you tuning in from? Because right now I'm actually on like a whole bunch of different social media. So I'd love to kind of see where people are joining me from. So hello, everyone. And I got my phone going on TikTok. Hello, TikTok. I'm all over the place. So take advantage of asking questions about healing from toxic relationships, healing from divorce, healing from breakup. Or again, maybe you're still in it and you're wondering what's healthy, or you're wondering what the next steps are for you. So as you write down your locations and your questions, I'm going to kind of just start with, I guess kind of a question for you. When I was in my toxic marriage, so I was in a bunch of toxic relationships and then I was in a toxic marriage, and I knew that I needed to leave. There was something in me that knew. In fact, if I'm real, I knew that I should have never gotten married to that person to begin with. I don't know if that resonates for anybody who's watching right now, but I was feeling older. I was feeling like time was passing me by, and I decided to move forward with getting married anyway, even though there was a bunch of red flags going off. Anyway, flash forward to a few years into the marriage. I had already kicked him out, let him back in. And I knew that I needed to end the relationship, but I was very hesitant at doing it. And I'd love to hear from you. What might be some of the reasons why you have been hesitant in leaving? Again, maybe you're in it now and you're like, all right, I'm hesitant because, or maybe you've already left it and you are still hesitant. So, or you remember being hesitant, I guess I should say. So for me, I had a bunch of different fears that were going on. I was worried that, and this is what we see with clients too, I was worried that I had gotten too old and that I wouldn't find anyone else. I was worried that I was the screwed up one. I was worried that he would finally change into the person that I hoped he would be. And the person that he was when we first started dating, I was hoping he would actually go back and become that person. I was afraid I was too old. I also was brought up in a family where once you get married, you'd stay married. So that was another concern that I had, was the fact that I promised to get married and stay married. I didn't want to break that promise. So I had a bunch of different things that were going on in my mind that were keeping me from actually ending the divorce or ending the relationship and getting a divorce. And so, those kinds of things kept me stuck. Now, I guess the next part is, what has kept us from getting help? And that's a question I have for you that's watching. And again, I'd love to hear from all of you. But for me, what kept me from getting help, and what's kept a lot of our clients from getting help, is that we are professionals. We're used to researching. We're used to figuring things out. And so we thought that we could research our way out, or we felt like it was our private business. We didn't want anyone else to know, mostly because of guilt and shame, but we didn't want anyone else to know what was going on. And so we stayed even longer in that relationship. Now, a big difference that you need to know between, privacy and secrecy is that secrecy tends to be enabling. If you are private, you are maybe having an issue, but you're going to professionals, you're getting help, you're getting things taken care of. If you're secretive, you're not telling anybody. Think of it like one as being like, a little shady. Secretive is shady. So like secretive is, the person I'm with is got a drinking or drug problem. They're physically abusive towards me. They're not treating me well. I don't want anyone to know. That is secrecy. privacy is they're doing those things, you're getting help. You don't want other people in the public to know. And I think a lot of people get confused between those two things. And actually, I thought of it today because I was actually at the gym and they were talking about Secretary of Defense, what's his name, Lloyd Austin, who was talking about how he was actually being questioned because he had completely disappeared out of the public eye and he didn't tell anybody why he had disappeared. And so a bunch of questions were being asked and he finally came out like, hey, I got prostate cancer and I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody, which is completely understandable. He should have told his boss. Like, not everybody needs to know our private business. So I understand that. And for him, he went on to say also in the African-American community, especially with men, that's not something that you share. You don't share that kind of stuff that you're going through cancer or mental health issues or anything like that. So all of those things are relevant, but here is the other addition to that I was talking about before. When he decided to go into the hospital and not tell anyone that he was going into the hospital, he left a very big gaping hole in the Secretary of Defense's job. He left his job without having someone to take care of his responsibilities. So what does that have to do with the toxic relationships? Well, when we are enabling bad behavior, so we're keeping their behavior secretive, then we are not making sure that we are keeping ourselves protected. But what about protecting our children? What about protecting the other people on the road? If your significant other is drunk driving or driving angry or driving under the influence of anything? What about protecting, if they have a job that's a very high level job, maybe them making bad decisions is going to negatively affect the people at that job also. So, and of course, mental health issues affect our job. It affects our work environment. So I want you to kind of know the difference between, that secrecy piece, which is secrecy really comes from embarrassment. It comes from shame, but secrecy also enables the person to continue behaving in a negative way because they don't have to take responsibility because we're keeping it hush. And for me, I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want anyone to know what I was going through at home because I was embarrassed. And a lot of women, when they come to us, we do work with men too, but a lot of women, when they come to us, they say to us like, well, I'm a professional. I can figure all of this out. And they feel like they're really isolated. They feel like they're really alone and that nobody understands what they're going through with this toxic relationship. But if you look at it statistically, 50% of marriages end in divorce. So if 50% of marriages end in divorce, and the numbers go from like 42% to like 53%. So there's it changes from year to year, but you're about at 50% of marriages end in divorce. You can't tell me that marriage was not toxic before they got a divorce. Most of the time, people stay way longer because of all the things I talked about when we started. They stay way longer in that relationship trying to make it work because they don't want to feel like a failure. They're embarrassed. They made promises. They feel like they're getting old. All their insecurities are coming up. So they stay way longer in that relationship. So 50% of all marriages end in divorce. And then if you get married a second time and you don't get the right help and support, then the chances are up to 70% that marriage will end in divorce. And then this is another interesting one, is that there are more divorces with people that are well-educated or that have lived together beforehand. So now we're looking at the people that are most of my followers, right? The people that are successful. I lived with my first husband for like a year before we got married. I have a master's degree, so well-educated. Now, what that makes me also think though, is that it's not really 100%. It's hard to tell. And we have to look at the statistics like with a little bit of a lens, because in my professional opinion, that number of people that maybe want to get a divorce is actually higher. But for those women and men who maybe don't have the education, do not feel financially stable, do not have the support to end the relationship, might feel stuck in staying in what is toxic and unhealthy for them. So I say all of that because the numbers are really interesting when we're looking at divorce. So that part of us that feels like I'm not good enough, it's not possible for me to create something different, I deserve this type of toxicity. That's all the things that keep us in this relationship. And so when we finally decide to end it, for those of us who do decide to end that relationship, then we get to this other side of it where we saw it was toxic. We did what we had to do to get a divorce or break up with the person. We had to move out. We had to move our stuff. We had to start all over again. And now here we are on the other side. And this is the part that is so important to get the right support, to really actually get the healing that you need so that you don't become that statistic of getting into another toxic relationship after you get that first divorce. A lot of people will say, oh, yeah, after you get a divorce, you should go right out and start dating again. I'm here to tell you right now, please do not do that, because very good chance, now again, might not happen for you, that you might be the lucky one. But what I've experienced is that if we don't heal in between relationships, we're going to actually end up with another type of unhealthy person with just a different face. So we've got to make sure that we're healing. So I was thinking about this today. And again, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I don't see any questions coming in yet. So I'm going to just kind of keep going with whatever's feeling like it's coming to me. So this is purely downloads, I guess, coming in is like the empath and whatever is feeling like is needed right now. But so, one of the things that people look at is like, they're like, oh, I've been divorced for a year. I've been divorced for 6 years. I've been divorced for 12 years. I've had a client that were divorced for 20 years. And they're like, I'm not new out of this divorce. And I just keep finding unhealthy people. I have not been able to find someone that I want to spend time with. And I'm feeling really, dissuaded about finding someone that's going to be a good fit for me. So they start to feel like they're settling, or they feel like I'm never going to find anyone, or there's a whole bunch of different things that go on. So what I want to say for those of you who are in that boat, that maybe you've ended that relationship, again, divorce or breakup, doesn't really matter to me. You've ended that, and now maybe a little bit of time has gone on. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, whatever it is. And maybe you've tried dating, or maybe you're scared of dating. Maybe because you were hurt so much before, you're scared of dating now. And I don't know if that resonates for anybody that's watching. Is anybody that's watching right now, is anyone scared of dating because they ended that crappy relationship, but they just really never want to get into another one of those relationships again? So if that's you, or again, you've only found the similar types of toxic people, then my question for you is, again, what kind of supports have you had? There's this misinformation that if you allow time to go by, like they say, time heals all wounds. If you allow time to go by, you're just going to heal, and then you're going to choose a better person moving forward. We do not find that. The baggage that you are carrying from that last relationship, where maybe you have not been able to let go of anger, maybe you have not been able to let go of the feeling let down because you've spent all this time and energy on this person that ended up not being who you thought they were going to be. So you've been kind of like carrying around a backpack. So you've been carrying around this baggage that's actually keeping you from being able to find someone new. And because our internal talking voice is telling us to find people that are not healthy for us. Because if we don't change where we feel love, then we're going to look for love that is uncomfortable. So look, in my book, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, it's the shift that we make when we understand that being loved should be safe and inspiring and calm, as opposed to love should be stressful, filled with anxiety. You got to fight for it, all of those things. So we have to shift those parts. And if not, then we're probably going to end up with a similar type of partner. We might say, oh, I'm going to never do that again. But if we don't do the right things, then the chances are pretty good we're going to relive that over and over again, because we're reliving a trauma that we've experienced probably when we were younger. We're going to keep reliving that, looking for love in all the wrong places, if you will. We got to make sure that we are shifting those beliefs about what it is that we want in a partner. And we do that by learning to focus on ourselves. And here's something that I've been talking a lot about on social media. It comes a time where you need to stop focusing on what your ex did to you. Stop being an expert on codependency, on narcissism, on being a sociopath, and being a psychopath. Stop being an expert on there. Stop researching all of that and start taking all that beautiful energy and focusing it on you. And now, that doesn't mean that I blame you. I think that there's always lessons to learn from every relationship that we have. And that doesn't mean I excuse the behavior that you've experienced before. A lot of people come to me specifically because I had dealt with abuse. So other people are attracted because I do share openly the physical abuse and emotional abuse and at times sexual abuse that I experienced. I can look at my ex and know that he's messed up, but I'm not focused on him screwing things up anymore. In the beginning, I was angry, I was let down, and I was really focused on trying to figure out, especially when I was still in the relationship, I was trying to figure out what I could do to change myself, to figure out what was wrong with that relationship. Like, what could I do differently to make it work? Because we're used to researching. And if we research, we can find the answer and then we can do that thing. But when it comes to relationships, that's not that easy. We can't make someone be who we want them to be. They're going to be who they are, and we get to accept it. So at some point, we have to stop doing the research on what the other person did to us. And we have to take responsibility for ourselves and ask yourself the question, have I ever experienced an unhealthy relationship before in my past? And the answer will probably be yes. It might be a friendship. It might be a work environment. We have a lot of women, because they're professionals, they noticed that their relationship was bad at home, so that they obsessed over work and made work their full-time energy, sucker basically, and that they were taken advantage of at work and things like that. So where else are you noticing unhealthy patterns for yourself? Because I bet you once you start peeling everything back, it's not just this one unhealthy partner. I bet you there are other things. So what we see by that then is patterns. So if we can figure out the patterns, then we can choose something different for ourselves. If we know ourselves well enough, we can make different choices for ourselves. So I think that was all I wanted to say about that. Are there any questions about any of that so far? I want to stop for a second. I want to see all the different, I don't see any questions coming in. Hopefully this is tuning in or streaming correctly everywhere and people can type questions, but make sure you're asking questions. Again, I'm here for you to answer any questions that you have. So again, take advantage of the opportunity to ask me questions. So I'm going to go back a little bit for, to being aware of what you are concentrating on, or being aware of thinking about what you think about. So I have kind of a funny story. I'm currently wearing contacts. Normally you see me on lives with glasses, right? So I'm right about that age where I now need glasses. I mean, I've needed glasses. I got LASIK like 20 something years ago, and I got to be 40 and I started to need my glasses again to start to see far. And then as I've gotten more into 40, I need my glasses pretty much all the time. I'm not one of those people that needs it for reading. I'm actually still really good with reading, but it is difficult when you're looking at contacts, because with contacts, you need one eye that's going to see far away and one eye that sees close to be able to, read what you're reading. So there's a reason for all this story. And it's really about knowing yourself, right? So I went to the doctor. I said, hey, I want to get contacts. I know it's going to be difficult. And she's like, yeah, but we'll figure it out for you. So I go home with these contacts and they're terrible. It gives me a headache. I don't see well. It's just not good. So I call up and they're like, yeah, come back, we'll fix it. So I go in again, terrible, not good. Go in a third time, again, terrible. Now, the part of me that wants to people please and doesn't want to bother, in that third time of trying to get my contacts figured out, I literally thought to myself, forget it. Don't bother getting contacts. It's not worth it. This is too much of a pain. You're being difficult. don't go ahead and do anything about context. That's literally what the thought process was in my head. And I noticed it because when you start to heal and you do the work on yourself, you notice, you think about what you think about. That's metacognition, right? So you think about what you think about. So I'm hearing this in my head and I'm thinking to myself, why am I saying this? Why am I telling myself to give up getting something that works for me? So I'm going to just accept paying for contacts that don't work right. And I'm going to just give up and not talk to the doctor. So when I realized that I was going to, my brain, my automatic wanted to fall back into an old pattern, I called up the eye doctor and I said, hey, these didn't work. And they said, okay, come in. So when I went in, I said, hey, I almost didn't even call you because I didn't want to bother you. And she was like, literally, I don't care. You can come in 25 more times. This doesn't cost me anything. Just keep coming in until we figure out your contacts. And I was like, that is so interesting. And I'm glad that I said something. But how interesting is it? And how many of you maybe that are watching right now have ever talked themselves out of doing something because we were afraid of annoying someone, hurting someone, being frustrating, whatever it is, and we haven't said anything. We haven't brought it up. How many people have done that? And so again, when you start to do the work, it doesn't mean you're never going to feel that way again. If you're someone that normally does that those things get less as you do the work. But what happens is, as you notice them, you can make a different choice. And that's what I think is so cool about being able to make those choices. So like when your thoughts, just because you have a thought doesn't mean you have to act on it. When you have a thought or a feeling, you can slow things down, give yourself a break, and then say to yourself, what is this really coming from? What is the purpose of this? And can I or should I choose something different? Would it be better for me to choose something different? So just a little story to share with all of you. So somebody asked, how do we know when we're ready to date again? So really great question. So again, I think one of the biggest things to focus on when we've ended a relationship is to not start jumping in and dating right away. We want you to focus on the healing part. So what do I mean by that? We want you, like when people come to us and they work with us, some of the things that we look at is, what kind of social network do you have? So do you have activities that you enjoy doing? And so and all the things I'm going to say is really all about creating a life where you literally don't need a partner. So that probably sounds counterintuitive. Like, I want a partner, but you want me to not need a partner? Yeah. I want you to not need a partner. I want you to get to a point in your life where you would like a partner if they're a good addition to your already filled life where you feel already really good. So back to what I was saying before. What's your social life like? Do you have people that you enjoy spending time with? Do you have a close network of people? What are the things, the hobbies that you enjoy doing? What do you enjoy doing totally for you? Not for what your ex is, not your kids, not your family. What are the things that you enjoy doing for you? And that to me is like the most fun part, because learning who you are and what you want for yourself is like such an exciting journey. And that should be going on really for the rest of your life. Like, how do I like to do things? Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know this. And sometimes we change. Sometimes we like something and it changes. So go and find out really what it is that you want to do for yourself. Really create that team. Look at what kind of patterns you've created in the past or you brought from the past. And if you notice, hey, I seem to be attracted to people that need saving, or maybe I ignore my little voice that tells me that I shouldn't be continuing this relationship and I continue it anyway, then those are all things to be aware of so that you can choose something different. And I will say this, and of course, there's a few other steps, but those are some of the big ones. The other part is when you start dating, make sure that you are dating for educational purposes only. And this is after you've already filled up your life where you feel good and you feel like a whole person without anybody else in it. Now, some of my introverts might be like, but Stephanie, I like to be on the couch and I don't really want to go and do things and whatever. I get it, but you should have at least one friend. Like maybe you have your friend that you go to the gym with. Maybe you have your friend that you go hiking with. Maybe you have your friend that you go out to dinner with. You should have a circle of people in your life that you can do things with, because when and if you decide to start dating again, we don't want that person to be your everything. We want you to be able to have your whole life so that you are attracting two whole people are being attracted together. It's not one person needing, because when you send out needy energy into the universe, you're going to attract someone who likes needy energy. And who likes needy energy? Narcissists. People that want to take advantage of you, like the narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, they are attracted to the needy energy. So in order for you to attract healthier people, you need to no longer need. It'd be nice to have a relationship. It would be good to have that, but I will be okay if I don't, because I've already filled up my own cup and I've already created a life that I am excited and love and is amazing. And if someone comes in my sphere, they're going to be freaking amazing, because I'm not going to let just anybody come into this life. They're going to be adding to my life, not taking away. Because a lot of us are the people pleasers. Once we're in a relationship, we're totally loyal. We don't end the relationship, even though we maybe should. And we jump quickly into a serious relationship when we should still be getting to know the person. So when you are in that place where you feel totally comfortable in you and you don't need the other person, you can come from a place of friendship so they can show you who they are. And then you can decide if they are worthy of you. So part of healing is learning who you are, getting to a place where you feel totally comfortable and full for you, and then dating. So dating for educational purposes, which means going on dates with people and learning what it is that you want in a partner. Who is going to be worthy of you? And how is that going to work together as a partnership? Because we're looking for a best friend that we can have a partnership with, where we have similar interests, similar values. That's really important. And, there to be respectful and supportive of each other. So I hope that answers that question. Are there any other questions? Let me just see here. I don't see anything on TikTok. TikTok, you have any questions for me? Anyone else? And I'm gonna actually say this too. A lot of people, when they know they need help, they've ended the relationship, or they even started to get help before the relationship ended. A lot of people will go and get help from a therapist, and it makes sense. Like when I started my journey, I started to get help from a therapist, and a therapist is really great, especially in that starting realm. I will say that there is a difference between a therapist and a coach. And this is the big difference. A therapist is really great to help you go backwards and figure out why you got into this mess. And a coach is there to help you achieve a goal. So if you are looking to create healthy relationships and create a new life for yourself, then that's where the coach comes in. If you're looking to figure out how you got into this mess, that's where the therapist comes in. It's a really great combination to have those two together. And again, a lot of people come to us, they've done the 12 steps, the divorce recovery, the therapy, all that kind of stuff, and they haven't gotten to their goal, which was creating that healthy life where they're happy and supportive. So again, I understand why a lot of people come from therapy, and that's an important starting point. But once you're done doing the research, once you've done therapy, once you've done that, it shouldn't be years and years. When I have clients come to us, and again, we help people in a holistic way. So we want to make sure that we're helping you, your physical health, your social health, your mental, emotional health, and your spiritual health, getting everything back into balance, so that, because again, when you're people pleasing and taking care of everybody else, all of your wants and needs are put on the back burner. So we want to bring everything back into balance. But I have people that come to me and say, I've been in therapy for 20 years and I'm still choosing crappy partners, or I'm still stuck on my ex, or I'm still trying to work through some of the trauma that I've experienced. It should not take that long to learn and work through some of the things that you've experienced. And I've experienced now people that are going to say to me, well, what about complex trauma? What about, PTSD, things like that? I understand, and it might sound unimaginable, but you can have those experiences and still be able to not relive them and create something different for yourself. It is possible to do that. And I've seen it, I see it all the time in what we do. But we need to make sure that we're looking at reaching goals as opposed to rehashing the same things over and over and over again. All right. I don't see any other questions. I feel like I shared all the things that I wanted to share. And literally, I didn't even, I came in only to answer questions and I got the one. Thank you so much for asking a question. But, all of the things that I shared were all things that I just kind of got the download. I have learned that if I feel the need to say something, I don't normally question it anymore. I just kind of say, okay, I need to say something now that I've found my voice and I'm not afraid of, anyone who's offended because I'm too much or they don't want to hear me talk about it anymore. Those aren't my people anyway. And hopefully that's a lesson for you. If you're feeling like you need to use your voice and share something, go and do it. Like go and share that thing. All right. You were put here on this earth to do wonderful, amazing things. And it's not playing small. You've tried to play small. And how has that worked? When we play small, we focus on everybody else and everybody else's needs. And we don't focus on the thing that was put in our souls and our hearts to allow us to create, that we were put here to do. So if we are not living our purpose and doing all those great things, we are doing the world and ourselves a disservice. So step into your power. If any of this resonates, you're looking for help, you can always reach out to me. Feel free wherever you are, just send me a message. We can chat. But hopefully this helps. I love coming on and sharing all this knowledge with you. And, I'm definitely here to support you. This is my mission. This is my passion to help people heal. Because in my opinion, if everybody was feeling their best and they were living at their best level, the whole freaking world would be a better place. I mean, let's be real. If we walked around and everybody wasn't so depressed and overwhelmed and all those things, how much better would the world be if we felt good in our skin and we felt like we were doing what we were put on this earth to do? So keep doing the good work. Keep going through your process. The journey might feel difficult at times, but sometimes you just have to take it one breath at a time. So on that note, I'm going to say goodnight. It's great hanging out with all of you as always. And never forget, you are way stronger than you realize. See you next episode, everybody.